It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning.
Hello.
All right, let's start the hour with a truthful statement from J.D. Vance.
All right.
This is definitely a truthful statement. Here we go.
Okay.
I got the easiest job in American politics. I got to go around and just remind the American people that Donald Trump delivered rising take-home pay and low inflation. That's a pretty easy job. Governor Walz has to go around and somehow convince the American people that Kamala Harris is going to solve the very problem she's been creating over the last 3.5 years. That is tough.
There you go.
And what did he do there? What we have suggested they do for the longest time.
They can't fix the problems because they created the problems. Right. And you mentioned it yesterday, so we appreciate Senator Vance for listening. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, we're sure. We're sure of it. It's the very basic truth. I love it. There is nothing that changes between now and a week from Friday. And we say a week from Friday because that's really where the effectiveness of the campaigning, what you have to do to change hearts and minds, the time that you have runs out a week from Friday. So you have a little over a week. James Carville pointed that out in an interview where it starts and ends and what a campaign has to do within that time and what time you have. It's why in 2016, the Hillary campaign, clearly why they canceled the fireworks display that weekend.
Oh, yeah.
They knew. Mm-hmm. They knew. It's not changing. So don't spend I don't know what they would have spent, probably $100,000 on, massive fireworks.
And that's, I guess, why Halperin is saying, Mark Halperin, as he said yesterday.
Yeah.
Liberal Democrat, former ABC political director, saying if things remain as they are now and they continue this way, Trump wins and we'll know. He actually said before the election.
The first time he said before Election Day, and then he said Election Day.
But is that what he's referring to? That like Hillary knew it wasn't like, well, no, let's keep the fireworks, let's not cancel them. She canceled them like 2 or 3 days before, knowing that they weren't going to win because they believe the polls.
Their internals are that truth that they really have to look at, even if it's bad for you. You can't ignore it. It's the internals, but it's also the trend in early voting and the results in early voting. One of the things that we talk about in the ground game is the precinct captain. When you look at each of the precincts in early voting, when you get up to the point of a week from Friday, and you've looked at a couple of weeks of widespread early voting and even longer in some areas, and you see that trend and you also see the internals, you couple that with your internals and also the other polls, the polls that we see, then that's going to tell you where you are. That's what the Hillary campaign saw in 2016. It's what the Democrats are seeing right now. I think it's what a lot of the liberal activist media is seeing and why they're so frustrated. I think, one of the things that Halperin in that video yesterday, and you sent it to me, and thank you for doing that, but he's got Sean Spicer, and I forget the other guy that was on with him, but they're on, and they're doing the analysis of where where the campaigns are, and what's trending. It's not, it's all strategy stuff and also analysis of things as it's happening. And it gets more involved when you get into the early voting. The past couple of election cycles, the anti-Trump vote was very motivating and had Democrats voting early in big numbers. You're not seeing that this election cycle. And that tells you what we have seen, and that is the toxicity, the voting against Trump effect isn't near what it has been in the past. In fact, it's all but gone. There's a given that it will be alive to some extent, but it's not near what it was, the driver for early votes for Democrats in 2016 and 2020. If the first, these first days of early voting are any indicator, it's pretty strong turnout, and it's going Republican. And if that holds, Halpern's point, if that holds, I would say also, the fact that you look at the Electoral College map and where the polls are going across different pollsters, the trend is going for Trump. That means different methodologies and different sampling, and also in different states. That trend in those battleground states going further and further for Trump. The trend in early voting, if it holds, spells a Trump victory, and you don't have to. We've been, issuing our concern with Arizona and Pennsylvania officials saying they're not going to have their votes counted by election night, Jeez. Which is stupid. But you look at the electoral map, and it's quite possible that Trump gets to 270. In fact, there's a couple of ways he gets to 270 without them being done voting or counting their votes, and that would be huge. It's Nevada's trending towards him. You see Michigan. We know Wisconsin. We, played the Jill Stein ad, anti-Jill Stein ad. It was a Harris ad going after Jill Stein last hour, and all of these indicators that show if he gets that show that things are moving in his direction. The momentum is with him. And how you make that up over the next 9 days is beyond me. I don't know, yeah. 9 or 10 days. I don't know how the Harris campaign drastically turns anything around. In fact, this is the time of year that the cement is drying. You're not going to, if you didn't shape it right the first, before now, it's going to dry the way it's going to set the way you laid it out, and that's where we are with campaigns. That's just the way it works.
Well, you see the desperation. I mean, the Atlantic story yesterday, the hit piece on Trump about the one murdered American Mexican soldier, and the fact that the Atlantic came out with the story that Trump showed compassion, but then went to pay for the funeral and then saw the bill. And said the quote was supposedly, I'm not going to pay that kind of money to bury a blanking Mexican, end of quote. And they put that out yesterday. And the family of the soldier who was murdered said, that never happened. Number one, we never sent Trump a bill. The Army paid for her funeral. And private fundraising. Trump didn't even do it. Trump was nothing but compassionate. The sister of the fallen soldier, of the murdered soldier, said, I just came from voting for Trump. And she just went after the Atlantic. And what's his name, the guy that runs it? Goldberg, yeah. It went after, and conservative media went after. But CBS led with that source story that the family says was completely false and wrong. Understand that they're doing that because, and this is the evidence, if you want more evidence other than the polls. If you're somebody who says, I don't just trust the polls, we can understand why. But what is the other evidence? What is the behavior of the two campaigns? You notice that the Trump campaign is now the campaign of joy.
Yeah.
And the Harris campaign is not. You mentioned the Jill Stein ad that we had played last hour, in case you're tuning in right now. We'll play it in a second here, but because I think it's worth playing again. Why would you run in Wisconsin, in the heavily liberal areas? Why would you run an anti-Jill Stein ad that you're paying campaign money for? It's because you believe you have slowly lost the far left for a number of reasons. We believe that the number of reasons were the fact of you can't say Trump is horrible and then embrace the major talking points and the major issues that he's promoted for 4 years without ticking off people on the right. But I really think the thing that has turned off the far left, that has peeled off, they believe, by their internal polls to the point where they actually put out a commercial against a third-party candidate, I think it's the Cheneys.
I believe so.
I really believe it's the Cheneys. And so to show you the point, because we had said when you had what was happening that day, that that was the that was let me see, you had the it was the Monday, because it was the whole everything about McDonald's, and Trump doing that, other about being in North Carolina then,
right?
Being in North Carolina over the weekend, and those videos there, and we're like, we were comparing the two campaigns, and then it's like she's doing a thing with Liz Cheney, and I looked at you and said, and this is not, again, it's not working, which I'm happy for, but putting on our political hats, we go, what the hell are they thinking?
Right.
Why do they think that Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney, because if you're bringing on Liz Cheney, it's Dick Cheney, it's a Cheney, that you believe that this is going to unify somehow independents and not turn off, to vote for you and not turn off the far left. And to show you it turned off the far left, John Stewart from Monday night. Ready?
All right.
Here we go. Tim Walz is on with him. And it's about Cheney. And it's exactly what you and I said. We go, this isn't working. Why are they doing it? Here we go.
The Cheney thing, do we really have to do that?
Look, it goes broader than that. Look, Bernie Sanders, Dick Cheney, Taylor Swift.
No.
That one. The shooting?
No.
Having the Cheneys on board?
Nah. You can't Dick Cheney or Taylor Swift. No.
We're a big tent.
What country did Taylor Swift get us to invade? No.
I mean, it's the laughter of the crowd, which means not only did Stewart bring it up, but the entire crowd understood it. They're all liberals that are in that audience.
Yep.
You have very few conservatives that go to see these shows. The Daily, no, it's not. Is it the Daily Show? What is it?
Yeah, yeah. He only does one day a week, but it's the Daily Show.
There's too many shows now, or there were. They're slowly being whittled away, aren't they? But it shows it right there. No. You can't throw Taylor Swift into the Cheneys, and so it's like, wow. And then you see that, and remember, she did the whole interview the other day, but Cheney endorsed her a couple of weeks ago, and so did Dick Cheney. When that all came out, right? It was at least a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
It was before we went on vacation. And we're just like, what in the world?
I think Liz Cheney alone would be enough, but it really goes overboard when Dick Cheney comes along.
Right. And so then I believe it directly led to this ad, which is now being played in liberal areas of Wisconsin. And this is a Harris ad against Jill Stein.
You can tell a lot about a person by the company they keep. Like Jill Stein. Stein isn't sorry about swinging the 2016 election to Trump. And now she's being helped by MAGA allies and Trump's former lawyer. Longtime Klan leader David Duke endorsed her. And like Trump, she's cozied up to Vladimir Putin. Jill Stein, look at her friends. Because a vote for Stein is a vote for Trump. Just ask Putin.
Jill Stein, I like her very much.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Wow. And then everything else with the 4 senators now in battleground states. And they made an ad about, Bob Casey in Pennsylvania. 4 of them now, where Casey actually said in the ad, I side with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I sided with Donald Trump on this. Not that we happen to agree on the same thing. I sided with him.
I engaged in bipartisanship, which leaves Trump out of it.
Right.
They went out of their way. They did the research and believed they needed to phrase it exactly that way. I sided with Trump. They see that as a political benefit. What does that tell you?
So it's more than just the polls. It's the behavior.
It's all of it.
It's the behavior of what they're doing right now that gives you a good indication of where it's headed. And we'll have more because we have more just audio cuts. It's just
every day.
But it was a disaster day for
you said it, and I think it is. I think it's true. Watch for this. The stuff like the Atlantic hit piece. You know, the family's lawyer, the soldier that was murdered. The lawyer came out and said Goldberg just flat out lied.
Yeah,
lied, distorted our conversation, and absolutely lied. But expect more, as you said. Between now and Election Day, we're beyond scorched earth.
Yeah, I
because they know she's losing, and they're desperate.
I'd be very surprised if you didn't see a completely false hit piece every day.
Yeah, no, I think you're
next
right.
Friday.
I think you're right.
866-98 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by Howes Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
This week's weather forecast across the country, mostly dry. However,
there have been some exceptions,
according to USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey.
Most recently, we did see some fairly significant rainfall and high elevation snow in parts of the central and southern Rockies, and even extending out across the high plains,
resulting in significant weekend flooding in eastern New Mexico. Regarding the mostly dry weather from an ag perspective,
we continue to see that mostly wide open weather across some of our key production areas, including the plains, the Midwest, and into the Northwest. And that also extends into the South, where producers are very quickly harvesting summer crops in the wake of some of the hurricane activity.
With several spring-planted crops nearing harvest completion with a faster pace than normal. Exceptions are crops in hurricane-impacted areas such as peanuts, and in the case of sugar beets, where dryness has slowed down harvest pace. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
And Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So let's play more audio. Here we go. James Carville. And in case sometimes he gets, you can't understand him, but he started off saying, were you better off 4 years ago, or are you going to be better off in a penitentiary 4 years from now?
Okay.
That's the whole point. If Trump gets elected, all of his political enemies are in jail.
Yeah.
When it's exactly what they've tried to do, but here it is, just so you can hear what he's thinking right now, 13 days out.
And, you know, the other question is, were you better off 4 years ago? Are you going to be better off in a penitentiary 4 years from now, or still having the right of free speech and the right of political dissent? Because that's literally what's on the ballot. And I suspect in 1941, I don't know if people thought they were better off than they were 4 years ago, or in 1861, what people thought. But I know this, when the Republic was threatened, people picked up arms and answered the call, or you know, when 1965, in the middle of the civil rights movement, I think people decided they want to take matters in their own hands and create a better country. And that's what I hope we do here in the next 2 weeks.
He's babbling. He doesn't know where to go.
And he knows exactly what I said. He knows, in fact, he's said it before. He knows that things are pretty much set. The cement is drying on this whole thing, and you're not going to change enough hearts and minds to make a difference. Yeah, I mean, you would have to be, the Kamala Harris campaign would have to be a drastically different campaign in order to move that needle in a significant way.
Have they changed at all?
No.
No, that's the point. They
Exactly.
haven't changed it all from the beginning.
Exactly. They won't do it between now and then.
Powered by windmills and solar panels. Red iRadio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when you want. All right, here we go. More audio.
All right.
Now, this is the continuation of really yesterday in the campaign and where it's all going, which is just, again, pure insanity for the Harris campaign. This is a discussion on CNBC about why is Mark Cuban... Why has Kamala delegated major policy talking points on financial issues to Mark Cuban? Why isn't she out talking about it?
All right.
Why is he? And he's been on CNBC on a consistent basis.
Yep.
It's like, why? Why is it? Where is she? Here's this discussion.
I said, why are you letting Mark Cuban be out here being the face of this? Why aren't you saying it yourself when it is something that matters to so many people?
Because they don't want to alienate other voters. That's the big
of
issue.
course, the big thing out there. And when I said this matters to so many people, someone told me yesterday they would tell you you're crazy if you said that to the campaign, that this matters. The defense is that this isn't something they think is really going to be a moving issue in the last 2 weeks of the campaign. So they don't want to touch it. They don't want to alienate. But that at
they
least
don't want to
shows...
alienate the base, but they also don't want to alienate their big donors. And that's the issue they run into.
Exactly. And I guess with 2 weeks left, they'd rather just let Cuban talk about it. Even when Trump's going on the attack, they say we don't want to make it more of a thing by having Harris herself come out and say it. But I agree with you, especially reporting on this campaign, trying to get concrete details out of them has been really difficult.
Yeah.
CNBC, by the way, is not a liberal or is not a conservative media outlet.
No, they are not. And it's interesting the language that they use. It's not effective. It's right now that's the equivalent of, because we're hearing this is not just one source. It's not happening just there with Becky Quick, and I don't know who the other person was there at CNBC. It's not. It's all of the liberal media outlets right now are going, what is she doing?
Well, but they're not. She still, I don't know who the guest was either, but she still wasn't blunt enough. She was saying, well, Trump's out there talking about it and attacking, but she doesn't figure it's worth, talking about because it could work against her base. What are you saying?
Yeah, what does that mean?
What does that mean? If Trump's willing to say, this is what I believe, then what you're saying is she doesn't want to go out there because she can't explain her flip-flops, and you believe she's lying.
Right. Say it.
And you believe she's lying, which is why she doesn't want to talk about it. Because if you're a politician and you know the American public is behind what you believe, you talk about it all the way up to the last second.
They're trying to be as ambiguous as they can and also still get the point across.
Yeah.
And when you listen to them, it's actually fascinating how they try and craft their sentences. But what they're saying is, what in the world is she doing?
Now we have, since that one was about Mark Cuban there, we have Mark Cuban on CNN.
All right.
Talking about the immigration plan of the Biden-Harris administration. This is one of his worst moments. All right. And there's been a lot of them, but this is one of his worst. Here we go.
So when it comes to criminalizing and not criminalizing crossing the border, I mean, that is just so stark, but you view that as an evolution.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's my opinion. I'm not speaking for the campaign with this.
Yeah.
I thought their hearts were too big when Joe came into office, that they didn't know how many people would cross the border, and it got away from them.
It's you know what it is?
It's embarrassing. It really is.
You know what it is?
It's embarrassing.
It's an infomercial product called the Ronco Excuse Maker. That's what he's turned into. He's not debating a point. He's not a good surrogate because he sounds like but they didn't know that it was going to get away from them.
It's really bad.
Mark, wake up. We don't believe he's stupid, but whatever's going on with him lately is weird. And it's weird because it is the like you're using the Ronco excuse maker. You just hit the button and any lame excuse comes out. Oh, well, they didn't know it was going to be that bad. What about inflation? Well, they didn't know it was going to be that bad.
And as he has gone more liberal wacko, he is wearing the glasses of what's her name from MSNBC, Rachel Maddow.
Oh yeah,
he has decided that I'm going to try to look like Rachel Maddow.
Yeah,
I'm putting on these glasses. All right, but we're not done yet, because one of the things that we have seen now is the attack on black men that plan on voting for Trump, and it's been pretty vicious. And it continues. This is Stacey Abrams, okay, on CNN.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Do you agree that black men who are not voting for Harris and who didn't vote for you, as the pastor sees it, are misogynist? As he said, misogyny is still real in our community.
I would say, number one, I know it's a shock to everyone, but sexism remains real and a very pertinent issue. But I want us to be really clear.
Okay, there it is, because she goes and changes the topic then. But there it is again, the attack on men. It's like, where do you expect that to go? Now, this is a reaction. This is MSNBC now. This is what's so fascinating. This is MSNBC talking to black voters, talking to black men in Philadelphia about Obama using the same thing. I mean, the whole thing is black men are misogynist. That's why they won't vote.
Right.
It's like, oh, my. By the way, this is what we've said before. Last week, black men were a victim. This week, you're the oppressor.
Yeah. Exactly. It's the way it goes now.
But here we go. Here's this audio.
And I just wonder for anybody who heard that, like what they thought of that.
I was deeply offended. And it felt like a moment where it's like, you N-words better get in line and do what we say. And it felt like him as the czar of the Democratic Party coming down to say, go get these N-words in line. And the general tone of it was disgusting. It was abhorrent. I don't respect it. I didn't like nothing about it. And Kamala, 2 days after that, is like, we love our black men. We have programs and things that we're rolling out for them, and she rolled out policy. Good cop, bad cop. You know, because I'm tired of the good cop, bad cop.
I'm tired of the good cop, bad cop. They've recognized, as anybody would, right? They're recognizing the constant flip-flop. Oh, we shouldn't have said that on race. Okay, I'll say one thing, you say another thing.
Right.
And it's just, and hopefully somebody will pick up on it. I think that one of the most wonderful things, and well, let me first play this. This is Philadelphia black women talking about why they reject Kamala. Here we go.
What are your feelings, and let me start with the women here, about Kamala Harris?
She's a woman of color. I'm not putting her down because of that, and I'm not putting her down because she's a woman. I'm not a feminist, so I'm sorry. But at the end of the day, I don't think that she has the personality. I don't think that she has what it takes to go up against Putin and go up against these other presidents that are built for this. I don't want to be scared because my president is scared. I want my president to feel secure and manly and about it.
We brought up gender, right? Like, do you think it matters that she's a woman and people aren't comfortable having a woman in a top leadership role?
No, I don't think that, because most men, they love their mothers. They love their wives. So as a woman, most men, they respect the woman. But she just don't have the qualification or the education to really run America, because she don't have the experience. She don't understand our struggles. And for me to believe you for another 4 years, you're crazy. Right. Like, you're crazy. You're saying the same thing that you said 4 years ago.
So the fact that she's the vice president,
that's
to
just
you,
the
is
bottom line.
You're like, you've been here, you've had a chance.
Yes. Well, for me, the very first time I ever heard the name Kamala Harris, it was in association to locking up parents for truancy. That was the first time I ever heard of her name. And I really didn't understand how this person claims to be a black woman, but yet she's locking up black women and black black men and separating families.
This is a thing that is, Trump talks about this a lot. He says, Kamala Harris became black when it was convenient.
Right. Yeah.
Can you talk to me about, do you agree with him on that? Do you feel like she's wearing her blackness?
Absolutely. When she's sworn into the Senate, it was as the first Indian American.
Thank you.
Which is, it's fine. We don't care.
We all know she's not black. Let's understand that. We are all clear of that. But my point of view, like I told you earlier, she's already been there. She's in office right now.
Wow. I don't care whether people agree with me or not. What I object to is identity politics, which is you must agree with me because your skin color is the same as, or that I must agree with you because my skin color is the same as you. I remember when I first became a radio talk show host, and this is when I lived in the Northeast, and I was obviously a conservative. I'll never forget being at a St. Patrick's Day celebration, huge celebration. And a bunch of people came up. They were a little bit older, but came up to me and really laid into me and told me that Irish Catholics are Democrats. And I remember I burst out laughing, going, get out of my face. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Irish Catholics are Democrats. I'm going to be whatever the hell I wish to be. Judge me by what I say. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. You and I have talked about this for the longest time because we hate the identity politics of the Democratic Party. It's racism is what it is.
Yep.
You're judging people by groups and not individuals. And what you're seeing, and we always knew, and we've said this for the longest time, you saw it with Hispanics, and we said it's going to come around.
Yep.
It's going to be the same thing. As we become more of a technological society, as we become more of a society where you can get news that you want to get when you want to get it, when you're not in the bubble of whether it's your family, whether it's the programming that you watch on TV or whatever, when you get to choose, that's when people are going to become much more autonomous and say, and then you can tell, be insulted by the fact that there's an expectation that you need to vote for me or vote for her because our skin color is the same. You heard it.
Yep.
And that's why when I first heard both those audio cuts yesterday, I got goosebumps because that is one of my major goals as a talk show host is to promote the autonomy of an individual. It's always been that way, that you can have your own thoughts. It doesn't matter whether you share the same religion, skin color, eye color, hair color, height, weight, doesn't matter.
Neighborhood,
doesn't matter. It's the autonomy of the individual that is paramount for the success of a democracy and freedom, and individual freedom. It's about autonomy. It's the individual. The Bill of Rights is about the individual.
Yep.
The rights of the individual. And that's what pleases me, the fact that people are getting sick and tired of the identity politics game. We knew they were, slowly.
We don't believe people are stupid. The liberals believe you're stupid. They believe in, and they also believe in groupthink based on your culture, your skin color, your religion. It must be that way. That's how they believe. We don't believe that. We don't believe people are stupid. And what you just heard were very clean and clear and blunt observations of where not only the Harris campaign is, but where the Democratic Party is and has been for a while, and the culmination of it. They're tired of that kind of presentation. They're done. They're done with it.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, so as I do occasionally end the show, but looking at the Babylon Bee headlines.
All right.
Investigation reveals Trump's role in Home Alone 2 was staged.
Oh, that's great.
Trump bribes voters with offer of prosperity, freedom, and safety.
Wait for it, because that one actually might be true. He's bribing voters by saying they're going to make more money. Yeah, I love it. Oh, my gosh. That's great.
Isn't it?
That is great.
Wow.
And still not as bizarre as what might be coming down the pike between now and Election Day. I mean, every single day.
I know.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.